to this month's edition of FinCrime Connection, brought to you by Jade ThirdEye. I'm Jing, Business Development Manager at Jade in the Sydney office. Joining me today is Colin Dixon, our CAM-certified AML Solution Specialist. Colin works closely with clients to help them get the most out of our system. So Colin, last month we talked about the changes in AUSTRAC's regulatory approach. This month, we've got some examples to discuss and their implications whilst this is looking in the Australian cases. We imagine the same principle applies in New Zealand?
Yeah, that's right, Jing. We talked about the two sides to AUSTRAC's approach. On the one hand, being helpful, accommodating, providing training and so forth. And then on the other side, enforcement. And we've got some recent examples of each of these to discuss.
Yes, let's start with enforcement, please.
Well, in Australia and New Zealand, the regulators, or supervisors as we call them in New Zealand, have a range of enforcement options. Some are more severe than others, but basically they're all bad news. You're a lot better off if you never get into that position. Situation in New Zealand is a little uncertain at the moment with the move to a single supervisor model. But we've seen the DIA take action at various levels over the past few years, so we can assume that they're going to continue to do so. But for those reporting entities moving from the Reserve Bank and the FMA to the DIA, you should expect differences in the DIA's approach and just review your compliance programs with that uncertainty in mind. Now, we've got some specific Australian examples to discuss, but the subject is universal to Australia and New Zealand and, in fact, to other jurisdictions.
Well, there have been some recent notice about closures of enforceable undertakings for NAB, PayPal and Gold Corporation, also better known as the PerfMate.
Yeah, that's right. So AUSTRAC have recently announced the closure of enforceable undertakings, or EUs, for those companies. These EUs have been in place for 2 or 3 years. I don't want to discuss any of the details of what these companies had to do, as that's not the point I want to cover here. The point is that if you're faced with an enforceable undertaking, or any other enforcement action, in fact, what you're going to have to do is a lot of work that you'd prefer not to do. And in these 3 cases, that extra work lasted for 2 or 3 years. You're likely to have to hire more staff. You're probably going to have to bring in external consultants to help with or perhaps just oversee your remediation process. Plus, you have to keep your business as usual activities running. You will come under a lot of close scrutiny from your own management as well as from AUSTRAC. And all in all, it'll be a stressful time that you could really do without.
As you said, we won't go into what those companies have to do, but there are some interesting quotes from the news items that you can find on the AUSTRAC website. So let me read a few quotes to everyone, and those are all attributed to Brendan Thomas, the CEO. So on NAB, he commented, the closure of this EU reflects the progress NAB has made, but it still doesn't give the business a clean bill of health.
Well, you could read into that even after the closure of an EU, AUSTRAC they'll be keeping a close eye on you, and in NAB in this case. That will cover the specific deficiencies that you have been remediating, but it's also going to extend wider to look at your whole program. So you should be looking at your whole program and making sure it's in good order. Just be careful you don't let anything slip whilst your attention is on something else that you needed to remediate for the EU.
So on PayPal, Brendan also said, any business, large or small, can work hard to turn things around, but it's better not to let the issues emerge in the first instance. When you slip up, it means a win for the criminals. Simply put, you may be inadvertently moving the proceeds of the crime for criminals.
Yeah, well, this is the whole point of the regime. You should be doing your bit to detect criminal activity, which will also protect your business and protect your customers. With the new approach signalled by AUSTRAC, this is going to be receiving a lot more focus. So you should be paying more attention to detecting financial crimes rather than merely just meeting your compliance obligations.
Thanks for that, Colin. And also on PerfMate, Brendan commented, it shouldn't take AUSTRAC intervention and an EU to get a business to focus on its money laundering risk.
If I can put that succinctly, you could say that means get your act together before AUSTRAC comes visiting.
Agreed. AUSTRAC have also recently launched civil penalty proceedings against the Mounties Club, but that's enough about the enforcement. What is AUSTRAC doing to help the reporting entities, Colin?
We are beginning to see more education. So this is particularly aimed at Tranche 2 reporting entities who are going to need to comply by July next year. But it's also for Tranche 1 as well. There's a wealth of information on the AUSTRAC website, and there always has been, and it's just increasing that information. So there's information about legislation, guidance on specific subjects, the national and sector risk assessments, and indicators of suspicious activity. There's more being released to assist Tranche 2, and at the moment there's a series of 4 webinars that are being released, and you can watch them over a number of sessions. We're expecting more information when the rules are published, which should be in August, and core guidance should be released in October. So even if you think you know it all, spending a small amount of time on training, reading all this information, that can either raise a few things that you're aware that you need to address, or on the other hand, it can help you give confidence that you're doing a good job.
Great, thank you, Colin. Let's move on because I also want to cover the changes in Swift messaging that's happening in November.
That's right. In November, the old MT format will not be available. So all Swift messages need to move to the new MX format.
November is not far away, so JT supports the automatic conversion of Swift messages to FTE reports. Please reach out if you need assistance with this process.
And we have a webinar in our Explore series on this subject. So if you take a look at the resources section on the jadethirdeye.com website, you'll find this recent Explore webinar.
Colin, you also wrote a blog on the website, isn't it, back in March?
Yeah, that's right, Jing. And when I wrote that blog, in March, well, the final message was to start your planning for the change now. So now we're several months closer to the deadline, which is really looming. If you haven't done anything yet, you just don't think it's too late. Starting late is better than not starting at all.
Thanks for tuning in to this month's edition of the FinCrime Connection, brought to you by Jade ThirdEye. You can find links to everything we talked about today in the blog that accompanies this episode. As always, if you have any questions, thoughts, or feedback, we'd love to hear from you. We'll be back next month with more updates and insights from the world of financial crime. See you then.